All right, let's talk about one of the biggest certifications out there for cloud pros, the AWS Certified Developer Associate. Today, we're going to crack the code on this thing. We're going to use the official exam guide as our map to break down exactly what you need to know, what to expect, and where to focus your energy. So let's dive right in. So you're in the trenches, right? You're building apps, you're using AWS services day in and day out, and you're thinking, what's next? Getting certified is a fantastic way to prove your skills, but let's be real, the path can seem a little fuzzy. So what does it actually take to pass the DVA-C02 exam? Well, we're about to find out. We're going to treat this like a journey. First, we'll check our starting point. Are you ready for this? Then we'll go over the rules of the road, the exam format itself. After that, we pull out the map and look at the core domains you've got to study. And finally, we'll draw the boundaries so you don't waste a single minute studying stuff that's not even on the test. Okay, first things first, the starting line. Before you even think about hitting the books, it's so important to know who this exam is really for. Are you the person AWS has in mind? Let's take a look. Here it is, the big one, right out of the gate. AWS is pretty clear they recommend at least 1 year of real hands-on experience, and they mean it. This isn't about just reading docs. This is about being in there, building, deploying, and maintaining apps on the platform. It's the foundation for everything else. On top of the AWS-specific stuff, you've got to have your general dev fundamentals down pat. Being solid in at least one high-level language, getting how the whole application lifecycle works, and being comfortable with the standard tools of the trade. This is basically the core skill set you'd need for any modern developer gig. And this is where it gets really specific. It's not just about being a developer. It's about being a developer on AWS. You absolutely need to know how to talk to AWS services programmatically using their APIs and SDKs. And you need to know how to get your code deployed using a modern CI/CD pipeline on their platform. All right, so you're confident you're at the right starting line. Perfect. Now for section 2. We need to understand the rules of the road. Getting a handle on the exam format and how it's scored is huge for building the right strategy and, honestly, just for not freaking out on exam day. The exam's got 65 questions, but here's a key piece of info. Only 50 of those actually affect your score. The other 15, they're unscored research questions that AWS uses to test out future questions. You won't know which is which, so you have to treat every single one like it counts. But if you see a question that seems completely out of left field, don't panic. It might just be one of the unscored ones. And here's the number you're aiming for. The score is on a scale from 100 to 1,000, and you need a 720 to pass. Now, it's not a straight percentage. It's a scaled score, which is just AWS's way of making sure the difficulty is consistent across different versions of the exam. So 720, that's the magic number. You're going to see 2 kinds of questions. The classic multiple choice, where there's only one right answer, and then you've got multiple response, where you have to pick 2 or even more correct options. A huge tip here, read the question really, really carefully. Is it asking you to choose 1 or choose 2? It's such an easy mistake to make when you're under pressure. And here's some news that should help you relax a little. It's a compensatory model. What does that mean? It means you don't have to nail every single section. If you're a bit weaker in one area, you can totally make up for it by crushing another one. All that matters is getting that overall score of 720 or higher. Okay, now we're getting to the real heart of it all, the map for your study plan. The exam is split into 4 main areas, or domains, and each one has a different weight. Knowing this is basically like being handed a treasure map that tells you exactly where to dig. Just look at this breakdown. Development with AWS services is almost 1/3 of the entire exam. That is your #1 focus area, period. Right behind it are security and deployment, which are both super important, making up about 1/4 of the test each. And then troubleshooting and optimization rounds it out at 18%. This chart is literally telling you how to budget your study time. So for that biggest slice of the pie, development, it all comes down to writing code that's built for the cloud. We're talking about building apps that don't fall over, managing APIs, and of course, using the SDKs to talk to core services like SGS for messaging or Kinesis for streaming data. Next up, security. And listen, this isn't high-level theory. This is all about practical, in-the-weeds, secure coding. They're going to test you on things like managing user identities with a service like Cognito, granting temporary access with IAM roles, and making sure you know how to handle your secrets properly with something like AWS Secrets Manager. Domain 3 deployment is all about one thing: automation. The big question here is, can you reliably get your code from your laptop into the cloud? This means you need to be comfortable with CI/CD pipelines and using infrastructure as code tools like CloudFormation or SAM to spin up your environments automatically. And finally, we have troubleshooting. Okay, your app is deployed, now what? What happens when things go wrong? This domain tests if you can hunt down bugs, make sense of all the logs and metrics you get from a service like CloudWatch, and figure out how to make your app run faster. It's all about keeping your app healthy once it's out in the wild. This last section, this might be the most important one for saving you time and frustration, because knowing what not to study is just as critical as knowing what to study. Let's draw some really clear lines so you can put your energy where it'll actually count. Look closely at the verbs on this slide. Seriously, they tell the whole story. As a developer, you need to know how to use a CI/CD pipeline, not design one from scratch. You develop an application using services. You don't design the entire complex system architecture. You see that pattern? It's all about being the builder, the doer, not the grand architect. And this quote just nails it. If you walk away with one single thought, let it be this: the exam tests your ability to use AWS as a developer, not design it as an architect. Let that be your guiding light. Your world is coding, deploying, and securing your app, not designing massive, complex systems from the ground up. So there you have it, the official guide, completely unpacked. At the end of the day, this exam isn't just a test of what you know. It's a test of focus. It's about how well you understand the specific role of a developer on the AWS platform. You have the map, you know the rules, and you know where the boundaries are. So the only question left is, where are you going to begin your journey?